Hi, it's Catherine here. This video we've made is about a worker preparing to go out and do some immediate safety planning with a family. It's really important to be skilled at this type of planning because it's quite different to case planning. In immediate safety planning, we're looking at short-term plans, short-term strategies that enable children and young people to remain in their home and with family that cares about them and looks after them. So this type of planning can prevent entry into out-of-home care, which is critical because entry into care can change the lives of kids and families forever. And if the family will work with you in this way of planning, we can prevent that and we can keep kids safe with the people that love them. So I really hope that this video is useful for you. Thanks. Hi, this is a video on immediate safety planning. I'm Catherine Santoro and I'm here today with Liz Andrew Brake, and I'll let Liz introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name's Liz Andrew Breakers and I am a social work supervisor and coach.
Thanks, Liz. So let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a look at preparation for immediate safety planning when we're about to go out and do that with a family. And we're going to dive in right now and look at some content first. And then Liz is going to be a new worker today, even though she's not. She's very experienced practitioner I've worked with a lot over the years, but today she's going to be a new worker going out to do some immediate safety planning for the very first time, which can be a bit daunting for a new practitioner, right?
Yeah, definitely, it can.
Okay, so the difference between danger and risk, let's just establish that at first. So this good old visual of the kangaroo in the road is always a great reminder that danger, when we need to do immediate safety planning, something that we need to respond to straight away, because the child or the kids in the home risk of imminent danger and serious harm. There's an immediacy around it and a very high level of risk that we'd call danger. Now, risk is about the likelihood of future harm over the next 18 to 24 months if nothing changes. So risk, when we're looking at case planning, of course, we're looking at interventions that are about sustainable change. But when we're immediate safety planning, of course, we're looking at an intervention that's immediate, that we have to go out and with the family right now around that. So here's a decision tree that helps us understand about immediate danger and when we need to respond to that. So whether or not we have tools like the structured decision-making safety assessment or not, whether we're using our professional judgment or even other assessment tools, when we're assessing danger and safety, it goes through this decision tree process. So the first question is there imminent serious harm? Really worried at this point in time today, then there probably is danger present. If the outcome to assessing the safety would be safe, we're still going to work with the family in some sort of case planning process. But if we feel that there is danger present and we're extremely worried, the next question we answer in our work with the family is, can an immediate safety plan be put in place to keep the children or young person safe in the home? And it's a conversation with the family, and that's what we're going to dive into today. So if the answer to that is yes, we'd say, okay, the children are safe in the home with an immediate safety plan that's going to be reviewed very frequently and not left in place too long without review. And I think the maximum time is usually around 7 days maximum, but it could even be the next day. Now, if the answer to this question about can an immediate safety plan be put in place to keep the child at home, if the answer is no, if the family are not willing, not able, not confident, you're not confident that the plan is strong enough to keep the kids safe, then the outcome of this attempt to do some planning is unsafe. And then we need to let statutory authorities like, Child Protection Services, sometimes even police, know that children are in danger, and we're unable to work with the family. And yeah. Liz, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you've covered it all. I think it's a really helpful little flow chart, really, to think about whether you can safety plan or whether the child's safe.
Yeah, because we can't always, even with our best attempts, and even with the family's best attempts, sometimes it's still not possible to create a plan with them that's strong or robust enough to keep the kids safe for many different reasons. Not because they don't want to. Sometimes they don't want to, but other times it's just that, we can't find a safe person, or, they might be too unwell, say if it's a mental health challenge, something like that at that time, to be able to do that. So many different reasons. So that flow chart is useful to help you think through the process, the overarching process of planning, immediate safety planning. Okay, so we're going to use a case example today. And our case example is of Megan, a very young mum, 23. She's got a son, Ryan, who's 5, and a daughter, Kiki, who's 2. And Megan is no longer with the children's father, Rick. And Liz, you've been working with Megan for about a month now.
Mm-hmm.
And Megan was referred to the service because of worries about Ryan. He was not coming to school regularly. And when he did come to school, his clothes were often dirty and he didn't have any lunch or play lunch. So through your work with Megan, you discovered she's in financial hardship and a very isolated young mum with little support. So about 18 months ago, Megan also left a violent relationship with the children's father, Rick, and relocated to the other side of Sydney. Now today, a report came in that Ryan was left home alone for over an hour, and he got out of the apartment and went to the neighbour's place looking for his mum and sister. And Megan had gone to the shops to get some groceries. So you're heading out to try to develop an immediate safety plan with Megan. And this is your first go at doing that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So in preparation for immediate safety planning, we've got this 4-part process for workers to think through prior to meeting with the family. And even if they have little time, this can be done fairly quickly. And I think that's a key point we wanted to make today in this video, that you can have 10 or 15 minutes before you go out and do some immediate safety planning. There's a phone call and you've got to take action fairly quick, but you can still spend at least 10 minutes working through these 4 parts of the preparation with your supervisor, with a peer, if you can't grab your supervisor, some sort of consultation process, so that you have support with that critical thinking around the immediate safety planning conversation. So the 4 parts are, we always start with a worry statement about the thing we're worried about, the dangers. We're thinking about, as the agency working with the family, what do we need to see or not see the parents doing to keep the kids safe in this immediate safety plan. So these can be called non-negotiables or bottom lines, or simply things that must or must not happen to keep the kids safe from your perspective as a professional. We must have a safe person, or at least one safe person in an immediate safety plan. So thinking about that, we'll come to that a little bit more in a minute. And then we're using what if questions during the planning process to make the plan stronger and more robust, and to invite the parents or the people involved to do the thinking about what actions are they willing, able and confident to take to keep the children safe. Oh, okay. So here's our scenario again. Liz has prepared a worry statement in preparation for a conversation with Megan. So let's just pause for a moment and think about, why do we use worry statements Liz, did you want to make any comment about that? Why we use worry statements?
Look, I think for workers, it's really important to think about worry statements. It really just helps identify what exactly we're concerned about, who we're concerned about. But then also it helps the family or whoever we're working with understand what the concerns are as well, just making it really explicit and clear. But for me in this scenario, as a new worker, going into the home, having already written the worry statement is really helpful because I'm really clear with myself before I go in what I'm really concerned about.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we discussed, you know, Megan's a mum that is doing pretty well in a lot of things. She's a very young mum, and it's just in certain contexts. And this is the context is she's leaving Ryan home alone to go shopping. That's the worrying behaviour, and the context is when she's going to get the groceries. But in many other contexts or circumstances, Megan's doing pretty well, isn't she?
Yeah, and you know, the month that I had been working with her, we'd developed quite a strong relationship, and she's got many. So this is being quite specific about what exactly we're worried about, and then it also helps Megan understand. Okay, well, what do we need to see to keep?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I'm sure she would feel good about that as well, because it's acknowledging we're not saying, you know, that Megan's not a good mum. We're just saying in this context, we need to do something differently to keep Ryan safe. Yeah. So the problem is the problem, not the person is the problem. Yeah. Okay, so non-negotiables are also part of immediate safety planning. These can be a little bit tricky sometimes because people feel like, hey, I can't go in and say you must or must not do this. But immediate safety planning is a little bit different because it's the only thing that's keeping these children safe is the plan. So it must be robust. And some examples of non-negotiables are that say mum cannot be alone with the children until everyone is confident that the children are safe and getting looked after properly in mum's care. Another safe adult needs to be with mum and the children at the moment. Another example might be mum and dad can be with the children only when they're sober and not affected by drugs. Another one might be someone from the agency needs to visit every day to be confident that the immediate safety plan is working to keep the children safe. So there's some examples of non-negotiables, just as a reminder, Liz, that we need to think about what is the absolute bottom lines that must or must not happen to keep Ryan safe, because immediate safety planning is different to case planning. We must be really clear on that with families. What if questions? So what if questions help us make a strong immediate safety plan and to use in the conversation with Megan. So it invites participation from the family, not us going in and say, these are the things that, you know, you need to think about. We're asking them to think about them. What if the children are feeling really anxious and are missing their dad? What if mum feels overwhelmed with the children?
I didn't get that.
What if the worker turns up? What if the worker turns up mum alone with the children, and we've said that mum couldn't be alone with the children? What if the safe person needs a break and can't look after the children? What if the safe person notices mum and dad are affected with drugs? So they're questions around the danger that help us unpack a plan of B and C and to make the plan stronger. Did you want? Okay, and the last point is about safe persons. So you can't develop an immediate safety plan only with the person we're worried about, and you need at least one safe person or more, depending on, you know, how worried you are at that time and what the nature of the worry or the danger is. So in this case, you're doing some preparation thinking about who are the people you know about in Megan's world. You'll invite her to do some thinking about that, but doing some slow thinking about that before you go out. Because without a safe person, it's really not possible to do an immediate safety plan. Okay, Liz, would you like to read out the worry statement that you've prepared for Megan? And then I know you've only got 10 minutes before you go out.
So this is what I was just thinking about earlier after I got the call. So I'm worried that when you, Megan, leave Ryan home alone to go to the shops, that he could get hurt, like cut himself trying to get some food, and he could be scared and frightened because he's alone without you, as he's only 5 and could also wander out of the apartment and get lost.
Okay, great.
And so, because Catherine, that's obviously what has happened. He's walked out of the apartment and got lost. So, but who knows what he was doing in the house beforehand as well.
Yeah, and you said to me that he's cut himself before when Megan hasn't been watching him. He tries to get himself food sometimes.
Yeah, and it kind of makes a bit more sense now, when that had happened last time, he'd cut himself, and I was wondering kind of how that came about. So this makes a little bit more sense, makes a bit more piece of the puzzle, really.
Okay, great. So that's a really nice, clear worry statement. It's got the behavior of Megan leaving the kids, and it's also got the context when she's going to the shops to do the shopping, and it's also got really clear impact on Ryan. So, and I'm sure Megan would understand that very well. Okay, let's think about some non-negotiables. What do you, as the professional, as the worker, need to see happen or not happen during this? If you can develop this immediate safety plan with Megan during this time of the plan, what needs to happen or not happen? What's the bottom line to keep Ryan safe?
So the most obvious one to me is that he should not be left alone, home alone.
Ryan should not be left home alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I guess that someone should always be supervising him. It doesn't have to be Megan, but a responsible person, because that will be part of our discussion, because I know that there's some people in her life that maybe aren't so responsible or shouldn't be looking after Ryan sometimes, like her sister who uses drugs. If she's using, she shouldn't be looking after Ryan, obviously.
Just thinking through it, who decides whether the person's responsible or not? Who would decide that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, maybe at first that Megan runs it past me until I can be sure that she, so maybe at first that she runs it past me, and then once I can be sure, then she can do it herself. Does that make sense?
Yes. So would tell me if these words work. So both Liz and me agree who responsible people are?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ryan should be not left home alone, and a responsible person will be supervising Ryan, with both Liz and Megan agree who responsible people are. Would you want to, Liz, add Kylie in here as well?
Yes.
I know.
Kiki.
Sorry, Kiki. I know that Megan didn't leave Kiki. She took Kiki with her, but we wouldn't.
Yeah, and I have had a few kind of, I don't know, little concerns about maybe that she also wasn't being supervised, but I didn't think it was home alone, more that Megan just is not keeping an eye on them in the home. Okay. So I would like Kiki on there as well, definitely. And so Ryan and Kiki should not be, left home alone.
Okay, and this one as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Any other non-negotiables, or do you think that's enough to ensure, if Megan agreed to that, do you think that's enough to ensure that, immediate safety for the kids?
Yeah, I think if I start going into other things, then it becomes not danger, it becomes more risk.
Yes.
So for today, I think this is enough.
Yes. Okay, great. All right. So what if questions, of course, as you know, we use during the planning with the family, and they invite the family to do that kind of plan A, B, and C thinking. They might come up with some great actions as to what they could do differently in those circumstances. But what if questions allow us to go deeper and think about, the bumps in the road that might come up? We don't want families to fall flat on their face. We want to make plans that are realistic for them. And what if questions help us do that? So have you given thought to any what if questions that you might ask?
Yeah, so just briefly, since I've had the phone call, I guess some of the things that might come up, I'm thinking, is what say there's no responsible person available?
Okay, no responsible person available to watch the kids,
Yeah.
to watch if Megan wants to go out, is it?
Yeah, if she wants to go out.
The kids, if Megan.
And I don't think it's just a want either, because you know, if she needs to go out for a particular reason. So I guess that's another what if question, is what say there's an emergency.
So what if there is an emergency?
Mm.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
I think I just want to understand from her, if there is an emergency, is she able to take the kids with her? Is she able to get someone a responsible person quickly?
So is it, what if there's an emergency, who can Megan ask for help? Is that
Yeah.
what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one actually links to the possible safe persons too here, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're moving to that, but before we do, is there any more what if questions you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I've only known her a short period of time, and so it'd be interesting to have a more robust conversation about who responsible people that can support her. So what say someone that she's identified as not a responsible person at that time? So what say if she does say that her sister, 8 times out of 10 is responsible? What say she's using drugs when she calls her, or her mum's under the influence of alcohol or something like that?
Okay. So how would you like to write that? What if
one of her support people is not able to look after the kids at that time or something? I guess that's the same thing as what if there's no responsible person available. Yeah. But I just want to have that conversation with her. I think it's useful just kind of naming it, because she has mentioned to me that there are some challenges with some people in her family.
Okay. You mentioned her mum and her sister. Her mum used to use a lot of alcohol, but she doesn't these days, you said. But her sister is also still sometimes using types of drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else in what if questions?
Nothing that I can think of right now. I mean, something else might come up when I'm talking to her, but
yeah. Okay, I think that's a good start. Yeah. Okay, possible safe persons from your perspective that you know of. I mean, we know you're going to invite Megan to do this thinking, but who do you know of so far in Megan's life that could be options?
I think some people that she's talked about, there's a couple of neighbours around her, and then Ryan went to a neighbour's house. I'm not quite sure which neighbour yet, because that's just the information that came in about him. So I suspect it's someone that he kind of trusts. So from what Megan's talked about, they seem reliable, but I need to kind of suss that out a bit further.
Okay, right. And of course, these people need to be willing to be part of the plan as well. We need to ask them, get their permission to be part of the plan. I mean, the neighbours may not want to be. Whoever's going to be the safe person, we need to either talk to them on the phone or invite them into, the conversation with you and Megan. Yeah.
The other person is her mum. They have a bit of an up and down relationship. So sometimes she might be appropriate, or not appropriate, but I mean, sometimes Megan might be willing to call her and other times she might not. But I think it's still worth to kind of look into that, because she might be available sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, explore it with Megan about mum. It's sometimes when families are in crisis that, people in the past where the relationship's been very strained or, have distanced themselves, can come back into the relationship. It's an opportunity to repair sometimes as well, to give that support. So definitely worth exploring. Anyone else?
So, I mean, I'm hesitating a little bit, but the sister, she does live kind of close by, but as I said, she does use drugs on occasion. And so again, I'll need to discuss it a bit more with Megan. But Megan said she mostly gets along with her quite well. She has her own children as well, Megan's sister.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And there was another person that she mentioned. She mentioned a mum from the school that had sometimes been helping to walk Ryan to school in the mornings, and Megan had said, you know, that she'd struck a bit of a friendship with her, had some conversations and seen her around, and that, yeah, this woman had offered to kind of walk Ryan to school sometimes, which she'd been doing on occasion. So maybe there's an opportunity as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great thinking. I think, you know, Megan's a very isolated young mum, so we really need to be inviting her to think outside the square about support people. She hasn't got a big network around her, does she?
No, she's a bit hard sometimes, that you ask her, who have you got, you know, to support you? And she says no one. But these are just little things that she's mentioned, you know, when I've been there. So I think it's worth kind of delving a bit deeper and talking to her a bit more about them. Yeah.
So it'd be great if you could get a couple of support people or safe persons. You know, sometimes it's only possible to get one, and it'll be about your professional judgment if that's enough to make the plan strong enough. And of course, you know, there's yourself, you'll be checking in and reviewing the plan. You'll be discussing when, you know, how often you want to review the plan with Megan and how often you'll be checking in.
Yeah.
Okay. So Liz, with all that in place, let me ask you a scaling question. Last question before you go. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being, yes, I feel I've prepared enough to go out there confidently and have this safety planning discussion with Megan, and 0 being, I am not confident at all and I'm so nervous, where would you be out of 10 now we've had this quick planning session before you go?
Oh, I think I'm at a 7. I think I've prepared as much as I can. Like, I really can't do any more preparation. So I'm feeling prepared, but then I'm still a bit nervous about it. And I don't know what will come up when I'm there. And I'm a little bit nervous about, oh, am I going to be able to find some safe people that Megan has around her? So just have to see how it goes. So 7, I think that's still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you're at a 7. And yes, sometimes we just need to go out and do that. Another thing for you to know is I'm at the end of the phone. So you can always, you know, if during the course of developing the plan with Megan or before you finish up the plan with her, you can always give me a call and run it by me as well.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a bit more reassuring. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Liz. Good luck with it.
Thank you.